My sister's son dumped a bag of flour into the vent system during my daughter's birthday party on purpose. The entire room filled with white dust. 13 families grabbed their kids and left. He smiled. Mom promised me a new BMX bike if I shut the party down. My sister smirked. By evening, the venue owner had sent my sister one photo that made her call me immediately. The first thing I saw when I walked back into the main hall was Lila standing perfectly still in the center of the room with white dust in her eyelashes. I had been in the kitchen checking on the cake. 30 seconds. Maybe 40. I walked back through the swinging door and the room had changed completely. The air was thick with it. Flour, fine, dry, commercial-grade flour, hanging in the air like fog, pouring from the ceiling vents in slow ribbons, settling on every surface, every chair, every plate, every streamer I had taped to the ceiling at 6 that morning. The butterfly decorations Lila and I had cut from purple cardstock were coated. The custom cake on the front table. A monarch butterfly and fondant that the bakery had charged $180 for was covered in a layer of white so thick the wings had disappeared. The DJ's speakers had a film of powder across the mesh covers, and he was already unplugging them, shaking his head, wrapping his cords with one hand, and holding his shirt over his nose with the other. 13 families were grabbing their children and heading for the exits. Some of them were coughing. 3 of the younger kids were crying, rubbing their eyes with flour-covered fists. Mr. and Mrs. Kwan had their daughter wrapped in a jacket, moving fast. Mr. Kwan's hand on his daughter's back as if he were shielding her from something falling. The Delgado twins were being carried out, one under each of their father's arms. Mrs. Brennan stopped long enough to look at me and mouth the words "I am so sorry" before pulling her son through the double doors. 2 fathers I did not know well were brushing flour off their children's hair in the parking lot. One of them looked back at the building and shook his head the way you shake your head when you are deciding not to say what you want to say. The room emptied in under 3 minutes. 13 families. 31 children. Gone. I looked at Lila. She was 8 years old. She was wearing the purple butterfly hair clip I had bought her at the Millbrook Craft Fair. Hand-painted wings with tiny rhinestones that caught the light when she turned her head. She was not crying. She was not coughing. She was standing in the middle of her own birthday party, watching it end, and her face had the expression of someone who had been expecting something like this without knowing what it would look like. She reached up, unclipped the butterfly from her hair, and put it in her jacket pocket. She zipped the pocket shut. "So it would not get ruined," she said. My 8-year-old daughter protected a $7 hair clip while her birthday party collapsed around her because she had learned somewhere in the 8 years I had been trying to teach her that the world was safe, that some things need to be held close before they can be taken. She did not cry. She did not scream. She zipped a pocket and stood still. That was the moment I stopped being sad and started building a file. Colby was sitting on the bench outside the main hall doors. He was 12. He was my sister Naomi's son. He was smiling. Not the smile of a boy who had done something impulsive and was scared. The smile of a boy who had completed a task and was waiting for his reward. "Mom promised me a new BMX bike if I shut the party down," he said. He said it to Wes, my husband, who was standing 3 feet away with a trash bag in one hand and flour on his shirt. Wes did not move. He looked at Colby for a long time without speaking. Then he looked past Colby to the parking lot, where Naomi was leaning against her car with her arms crossed and a smirk pulling at the left side of her mouth. She was not inside the building. She was not helping. She was watching the doors empty with the expression of a woman who had gotten exactly what she wanted. I almost walked across that parking lot. I almost closed the distance between me and my sister and said every word that had been forming in my chest since the flour hit the vents. But Lila was standing behind me with flour in her hair and a butterfly clip zipped into her pocket, and she needed her mother to be her mother right now, not a headline. I turned around, I picked her up, I carried her to the car. Wes followed. We drove home without speaking. If you have ever saved for something for months, watched it destroyed in minutes, and then discovered it was not an accident, you know where this story is going. If you are new to Family Secret Tales, stay with me. A security camera, a contractor's estimate, and a venue contract are about to turn a bag of flour into a $23,000 problem. I am a licensed general contractor. I have been building and renovating residential and commercial properties for 9 years. I know ductwork the way some people know plumbing, by sound, by smell, by the way air moves through a space. When Colby dumped that 5-pound bag of flour into the FAC intake vent in the utility hallway of Starling Hall, I knew within 30 seconds what the damage would be. Flour in a commercial forced air system does not just make a mess. It coats the evaporator coils, it clogs the filtration array, it packs into the blower motor bearings. If the system runs long enough with flour in it, the dust becomes a fire hazard because flour is combustible at the right concentration. I have seen construction site HVAC units destroyed by drywall dust. Flour is worse. I booked Starling Hall in March. The deposit was $2,800, saved since November of the previous year. Wes teaches high school math. He makes $52,000 a year. I make more than that in a good year, but contractor income is uneven. Some months are $8,000. Some are $3,200. We do not throw money around. That venue deposit represented 4 months of a dedicated savings line, $700 a month, automatically transferred every first of the month, untouched, labeled Lila's party in the banking app. Lila had been talking about a butterfly birthday party since January. She drew the invitations herself, watercolor butterflies on cardstock, and I helped her address the envelopes. She picked the menu, pizza, lemonade, and a custom cake with a monarch butterfly made of fondant. She picked the playlist. She picked the color of the streamers. She was 8, and she had planned every detail of her own party, and it mattered to her in the way that things matter to children who do not ask for much. Naomi had thrown Colby a backyard party in August. She invited her Pilates group and their kids. 6 RSVPs. 4 showed up. The bouncy castle had a slow leak and deflated halfway through the afternoon, while 3 kids were still inside. The hot dogs were overcooked. The playlist was Naomi's yoga mix, not children's music. The cake was store-bought, and Colby blew out the candles before anyone had finished singing. Naomi posted photos anyway, tagging them Party of the Summer with 3 champagne emojis. She told the Pilates group the following Tuesday that she was the only mom in this circle who knows how to host. When Lila's Starling Hall invitations went out and 13 families responded yes, including 4 from Naomi's own social circle, something shifted behind my sister's eyes that I should have recognized, but did not. 2 of those 4 families had declined Naomi's backyard party. They said yes to Lila's. 3 weeks before the party, at a dinner at our mother Bridget's house, Naomi delivered the line I have carried ever since. She looked at me across the table. Wes was to my left. Talia, my business partner, was across from us. Bridget was in the kitchen doorway holding a serving spoon that she slowly set down on the counter as Naomi spoke. You booked a venue you have been saving for since March to throw a party your daughter will not remember in 5 years, Faith. You and Wes pinch pennies for 4 months so you can pretend for one afternoon that you are not a woman who crawls through crawl spaces for a living. Half those RSVPs are coming because they feel sorry for Lila. The other half are coming to see what 4 months of a teacher's salary looks like stretched across a Saturday. The table went silent. Wes looked at his hands. His jaw tightened, but he did not speak. Talia closed her eyes and pressed her thumb and forefinger against the bridge of her nose, the way she does on job sites when a client says something she cannot answer without losing the contract. Bridget picked the serving spoon back up, held it for a moment, and set it down again without serving anything. I stood up. I walked outside. I sat on Bridget's porch and listened to the cicadas for 10 minutes, and I told myself that Naomi's words were her problem, not mine, that she was jealous and small, and that the party would speak for itself. I was right about everything except the last part. The party started at 2 p.m. Lila wore the butterfly hair clip and a purple dress Bridget had sewn for her. She greeted every child at the door by name. Wes handled parking. Talia ran the craft table where kids made butterfly masks from construction paper and glitter. I managed the DJ, the food, and the timeline. Everything was on schedule. The room was full of streamers and laughter and the sound of children who had shown up because they wanted to be there. Naomi arrived at 2:15. She brought Colby, but no gift. She walked through the main hall without commenting on the decorations, the cake, or the butterfly banner Lila and I had painted together on a bedsheet. She looked at the room the way a building inspector looks at a code violation, noting what was there, calculating what she could do about it. She hugged Lila quickly, one arm, and then walked to the parking lot with her phone. At 2:40, I was adjusting the playlist at the DJ table when I saw Colby walk toward the kitchen corridor. I did not think anything of it. The bathrooms were down that hall. Kids had been going back and forth all afternoon. I did not know that his mother was already in the utility hallway with a 5-pound bag of flour in her tote, waiting for him. I did not know she had driven him to this building 2 days earlier to rehearse exactly this. At 2:47, the security camera recorded what I did not see. At 3:01, the vents began to exhale white dust, and Lila's birthday ended. Roman Kessler owned Starling Hall. He had run the venue for 14 years, hosting weddings, receptions, corporate events, and birthday parties in a 400-square-foot hall with hardwood floors and exposed beam ceilings. He was 50, quiet, and professional. When I booked the venue in March, he had walked me through every room and shown me where the electrical panels were in case we needed extra outlets for the DJ. He had a 4-camera security system covering the main hall, the kitchen corridor, the utility hallway, and the parking lot. I did not know about the cameras until the evening of September 10th. At 7:30 that night, 4 hours after the flower incident, Wes and I were sitting on the couch with Lila between us, watching a movie she had picked to replace the birthday she had lost when Roman called. His voice was calm, but his words were measured. The way people speak when they are reading from notes their attorney helped them write. Faith, I reviewed the security footage from this afternoon. I need you to know what I found. He described 4 clips. The first showed Colby entering the utility hallway at 2:58 p.m., carrying a white paper bag. The second showed Colby opening the HVAC intake panel, which requires lifting a spring-loaded latch that I had noticed was not child-proof during setup. The third showed Colby emptying the bag into the intake, the flour disappearing into the system in a single pour that took less than 4 seconds. The blower was running. The system distributed 5 pounds of flour into every vent in the building within 30 seconds. The fourth clip was the one that changed everything. 2:47 p.m., 11 minutes before the dump, Naomi entering the utility hallway from the kitchen corridor. Colby already there, waiting, Naomi reaching into her oversized tote bag and pulling out a white paper bag and handing it to Colby. She was smiling, not nervously, not reluctantly. The smile of a woman completing a plan she had been running in her head for days. The timestamp was clear. Her face was clear. She handed her 12-year-old son a weapon and walked away without looking back. Roman had sent the screenshot from that fourth clip directly to Naomi. He had her number from the venue contract, where she was listed as co-host because I had added her name to split the original deposit back in March, before I understood what she was capable of. My attorney will have the full footage by morning, Roman told me. The preliminary damage assessment for the SPAC system, the health recertification, and the lost bookings from the shutdown is around $19,000. but I will need a professional contractor's assessment for the final number, and my attorney says the estimate needs to come from a licensed professional, not from me. I almost told Roman that I was the worst person to do that estimate because I would be too angry to be precise. But that was not true. Anger makes me more precise, not less. 9 years of walking onto damaged job sites and putting a number on the destruction had taught me that the number is the thing that matters, not the emotion, not the accusation, the number. I told Roman I would have the estimate on his desk by noon the next day. If you have ever had to put a dollar amount on what your sister did to your daughter's birthday, you know it feels like performing surgery on your own family with a calculator instead of a scalpel. Welcome back to Family Secret Tales. I sat at my kitchen table that night with my laptop, my estimating software, and 9 years of commercial FAC repair knowledge. Wes put Lila to bed. I heard him reading to her through the wall, the soft cadence of a story about a rabbit who gets lost in a garden and finds her way home. I opened a new estimate file and I started typing. I built the damage assessment line by line, the same way I build every commercial estimate, material costs from 2 verified suppliers. Labor rates from the county prevailing wage schedule, code-required certifications listed by statute number. Duct cleaning and sanitization for a 6-zone commercial system, $4,200. Filter replacement for all 6 zones, including the HEPA secondary filters, $1,800. Blower motor inspection, bearing service, and fan rebalancing, $3,100. Fire hazard abatement certification, required by county code after any combustible particulate event in a commercial HVAC system, $2,200. Health department re-inspection fee, $800. Lost revenue from venue shutdown during remediation, based on Roman's booking rate of $2,400 per event, and 3 events canceled, $7,200. Cosmetic cleaning of main hall surfaces, DJ equipment professional cleaning. And butterfly decoration replacement, $3,700. Total, $23,000. I printed the estimate. I signed it with my license number, the same number that has been on every commercial repair assessment I have submitted in 9 years. I drove it to Roman the next morning. He attached it to his attorney's demand package. Roman also hired an independent FAC company that afternoon to verify. Their number came back at $22,600 before lost bookings, close enough that Roman's attorney kept my estimate as the technical breakdown and attached the independent bid as confirmation. That evening, Naomi's phone rang. It was Roman's attorney. The demand letter included the security camera screenshot, my professional estimate, a copy of the venue contract with Section 9 highlighted, a police vandalism report number, and a 1-sentence summary, intentional property damage by your minor child, directed and facilitated by you as documented on security footage, totaling $23,000 in remediation and lost revenue. Section 9 of the Starling Hall contract was 3 lines long. Naomi had signed it in March. It read, "Any signatory is personally liable for intentional damage to the venue or its systems caused by the signatory or any guest of the signatory." Naomi called me 14 minutes after the attorney's letter arrived. Her voice was high and fast. "Faith, you need to tell Roman to delete that footage. It was a prank. Colby was being a kid. You cannot let them sue me for $23,000 over flour. That is insane. It is flour. It is flour in a commercial HVAC system," I said. "It is a fire hazard. It is a health code violation. It is 3 canceled events and a venue shutdown. It is $23,000 in documented damage assessed by a licensed contractor. That contractor is me. The estimate has my license number on it. You did the estimate yourself. That is a conflict of interest. Roman can hire a second assessor. The number will be the same. Flour in a 6-zone system is flour in a 6-zone system. The math does not change because you do not like who ran it." Naomi was quiet for 3 seconds. "Then I will pay $5,000. Cash tomorrow, you tell Roman to drop it, and we forget this happened. The estimate is $23,000. Roman's attorney filed the demand yesterday. The security footage is in the packet. There is nothing for me to make go away, Naomi. $23,000. Her voice cracked for the first time. I do not have $23,000. Then you should not have handed your son a bag of flour and told him to pour it into someone else's building. I almost told her about the hair clip. I almost described finding it in Lila's jacket pocket that night, flour dust still caught in the hinge, and cleaning it at the kitchen sink with a toothbrush while Wes put Lila to bed in a room that smelled like birthday cake that nobody got to eat. But Naomi did not deserve to know about the hair clip. The hair clip was Lila's. It was not evidence. It was not leverage. It was a $7 butterfly that my daughter loved enough to protect in the middle of her own disaster, and Naomi had never noticed it in the first place. I hung up. But there was more, and it came from Talia. 5 days after the incident, Talia called me from her truck between job sites. She was chewing on a protein bar, and her voice had the flat tone she uses when she is about to tell me something she wishes she did not know. I got a call from a woman named Renata. She is in Naomi's Pilates group. Her daughter was at the party. She reached out through a mutual friend because she did not want to call you directly. She had something to say, and she wanted me to decide if you should hear it. Tell me. Talia paused. Naomi told the Pilates group 3 weeks before the party that she was going to, and I am quoting Renata here, handle it. She said your venue party was embarrassing because it made her backyard party look cheap. She said Faith's little venue thing would not upstage her and that she would make sure of it. I sat in my kitchen. The butterfly clip was on the counter, cleaned and dry on a paper towel, the rhinestones catching the overhead light. Renata assumed Naomi meant she was going to skip the party or throw a bigger one of her own, Talia continued. Nobody in the group thought she meant this. When the photos of the flower-covered room started circulating in the parent group chat that night, Renata put it together. She has been sitting on it for 5 days because she was afraid of the blowback, but her daughter has been coughing since the party, and she is done being quiet. Jealousy. Not a prank. Not a parenting failure. Not a boy being a boy. Naomi had told her social circle she would sabotage her own sister's party because the RSVPs on Lila's butterflies outnumbered the RSVPs on Naomi's backyard hot dogs, and she could not live in a world where that comparison existed. She had used her own son as the delivery system and a $240 BMX bike as the payment, and she had smiled on camera while she did it. And then Roman found the second clip. 2 days before the party, during a public open house at Starling Hall, his cameras caught Colby in the utility hallway. He lingered there longer than any child had a reason to linger. He touched the access panel twice, looked back toward the parking lot entrance, and then returned outside. Naomi's car was in the parking lot camera at the same timestamp. She had driven her 12-year-old son to the venue, and he had not gone there to look at the hardwood floors. Premeditation. Across multiple days. On camera. Twice, Roman added both clips to the attorney's file. The demand letter was updated. The total evidence package was now 31 pages. The dinner at Bridget's house happened 10 days after the party. Bridget had called it a family dinner. She had invited both daughters. When I arrived, I brought one item in a manila envelope, the 2:47 p.m. security screenshot, printed on photo paper, showing Naomi handing Colby the flower bag in the utility hallway. Her smile was visible even in the grainy frame. I placed the envelope on the table. I did not open it yet. Naomi arrived 20 minutes late. She hugged Bridget. She sat down. She looked at the envelope. She looked at me. I am not here to argue about flour, she said. Good, I said, because this is not about flour. Talia was beside me. Wes was in the kitchen doorway. Two parents from the party, the Kwans, had stopped by to return Lila's party favors they had grabbed in the evacuation and were standing in the living room with coats still on when Naomi walked in. I opened the envelope. I placed the photo face up on the table. Bridget leaned forward. Her hand went to her mouth. Talia looked at the photo and then looked at me and nodded once, the way she nods on a job site when the demolition is about to start. This is the utility hallway of Starling Hall at 2:47 p.m. on September 10th, I said. That is you handing your son a 5-pound bag of flour 11 minutes before he dumped it into the FAC intake and destroyed your niece's birthday party. Roman's camera system has 4 angles. His attorney has all of them, including the footage from 2 days earlier when you drove Colby to the open house so he could rehearse. Naomi's hand moved to the edge of the table. Her fingers curled around it until her knuckles turned white. That footage is wrong. Colby was at the open house because he wanted to see the building. He is 12. He is curious. He walked the utility hallway. He tested the access panel. He checked the height of the intake vent. Your car was in the parking lot camera at the same timestamp. You waited outside while he measured the job. You are making this sound criminal. It is criminal. Intentional property damage. Vandalism. Colby is a minor, which makes you the responsible party. The police report is filed. Naomi looked at Bridget. Mom, tell her this is insane. Bridget was still staring at the photo. She did not look up. You told your Pilates group you were going to make sure my party did not go well. I continued. Renata confirmed it. You said my little venue thing was embarrassing and that you would handle it. You spent a $240 BMX bike to bribe your own son into destroying something your niece planned for 7 months. 13 families left. The HVAC system is a fire hazard. The health department shut the venue down for re-inspection. Roman lost 3 bookings. The total damage is $23,000, assessed by a licensed general contractor, verified by county code requirements, and your homeowner's insurance will deny the claim because the act was intentional. I know because I called my insurance contact and asked before I wrote the estimate. Naomi's face drained, her jaw tightened, and the muscle under her right ear jumped twice. Her breathing went shallow, and her eyes moved across the table, looking for someone who would help. Wes was in the kitchen doorway with his arms folded. Talia was sitting still with her hands flat on the table. The Kwans were in the living room. Mom, Naomi said. Her voice was smaller now. This is being blown out of proportion. It was flour. Nobody was hurt. Bridget looked up from the photo for the first time. Her voice was quiet and final. You are smiling in this picture, Naomi. You are handing a child a bag of flour, and you are smiling. Naomi reached for the only excuse people like her ever trust. This is a family matter. We do not need attorneys and venues and estimates and photos on a dinner table. 13 families are not family, I said. They are witnesses. 3 of them have filed individual claims for ruined clothing and party expenses, combined $3,400. That is separate from Roman's $23,000. Naomi tried one more thing. She looked at the Kwans in the living room. Your daughter was fine. She was coughing for 5 minutes. This is not the disaster everyone is making it. Mr. Kwan looked at her for 2 seconds, then looked at the floor. Mrs. Kwan adjusted her coat and did not look at all. Their daughter had coughed flour dust for 40 minutes in their car on the drive home. They had called their pediatrician the next morning. They did not need to explain that to Naomi. Their presence in the room was the explanation. You said I crawl through crawl spaces for a living, I told her. My voice was flat. The room was quiet. You were right. I crawl through crawl spaces, and I know what flour does to a 6-zone commercial HVAC system. I know the cost per duct. I know the code requirements for fire hazard abatement after a combustible particulate event. I know what a reinspection costs and how long a venue stays dark during remediation. You thought you were destroying a party. You were building my strongest estimate. I let the silence hold. Lila put her hair clip in her pocket before the flower hit because she did not trust the room. She is 8 years old, and she already knows what you are. Naomi's posture collapsed inward. Her shoulders dropped. Her chin lowered. She looked at the photo on the table and did not speak. I am done, Naomi. No holidays at the same table. No joint birthday parties. No Colby at Lila's events. If you or Colby contact Lila without my consent, it goes in the file. The $23,000 is Roman's, not mine. Take it up with his attorney. The 3 individual family claims are theirs, not mine. Take it up with their attorneys. My part in this is the estimate and the police report. Both are filed. We are finished. I stood. I picked up the photo and put it back in the envelope. I walked toward the door. Naomi did not follow. She sat at the table with her hands in her lap and her head down, and the sound of her own breathing filling the room. Bridget walked me to the porch. She held my arm. She did not say anything for a long time. Then she said, "You did not raise your voice once." I did not need to, I said. The estimate does the yelling. Bridget hugged me. She held on for a while. Then she went back inside. I heard her close the kitchen door. I did not hear her speak to Naomi. Naomi filed a homeowner's claim anyway, telling her agent that Colby had acted alone and that it was a childish prank gone wrong. Roman's attorney sent the security footage and the police report to the carrier. 10 days later, the denial arrived. 1 page. 3 words in the findings section. Intentional act exclusion. Naomi's agent called her to explain. Naomi asked if there was an appeal. The agent said the footage was unambiguous and that no appeal would change the outcome. Roman's attorney filed suit after Naomi ignored the demand letter. When she missed the 30-day response deadline, the court entered default. The judgment did not fix Starling Hall overnight, but it made the debt official. Her credit report updated 6 weeks after that. Naomi walked into Pilates the following Wednesday, expecting normalcy. Renata had already shown the instructor the footage and asked that Naomi not be placed in the same class rotation as the mothers whose children had been in that room. Naomi stood by the cubbies with her mat in her hand, waiting for someone to acknowledge her. Nobody did. Renata spoke without moving from her spot by the window. "My daughter was coughing for 2 hours after your son poured flour into that building's air system. She has allergies, Naomi. She was breathing wheat flour because you decided your sister's party made you look bad." The second woman, whose name I never learned, said, "We pulled our kids out of Colby's school carpool this morning. My husband drove them separately. Do not ask us to switch back." Naomi looked at the mat in her hands. She did not unroll it. She walked out of the studio without changing her shoes. The door closed behind her with the slow hiss of the pneumatic arm. Colby asked Naomi 3 times that month if they could go to Lila's next party. The first time, Naomi said not right now. The second time, she said we will see. Which is the thing parents say when the answer is no and they cannot bring themselves to say it. The third time, he asked in front of Bridget at a Sunday lunch, and Bridget looked at Naomi across the table and said nothing, which was worse than anything she could have said, because Bridget's silence was not confusion. It was a verdict. Talia and I threw Lila a makeup birthday party at Talia's backyard on October 5th. We spent $340. Talia refused to let me pay for more than half. 11 of the 13 original families came back. The 2 who did not sent cards with gift cards inside and apologized for scheduling conflicts. The Kwans brought extra lemonade and a bag of butterfly stickers they had ordered online. Mrs. Brennan baked a cake shaped like a butterfly with purple frosting and hand-piped wings and did not charge us for it. When Lila saw the cake, she put both hands on her cheeks and said it looks exactly like my clip, and Mrs. Brennan knelt down and said, "That is because your mom showed me a photo." Wes manned the grill. Talia hung streamers from the porch beams. The playlist was the same one Lila had made for the original party. 22 children ran through the yard. The sun was warm, but the October air had a coolness underneath it that made the shade comfortable instead of dangerous. Lila wore the purple hair clip, cleaned and dry, the rhinestones catching the afternoon light every time she turned her head. I sat in a lawn chair and I watched my daughter run. Talia sat beside me with 2 glasses of lemonade and did not say anything for a while. Then she said, "The estimate was your best work." I laughed. It was the first time I had laughed in a month. 3 weeks after the makeup party, on a Saturday afternoon, I was loading folding chairs into my truck in Talia's driveway. We had used the backyard for a neighborhood block party project, and the butterfly decorations were still taped to the fence posts because Talia said they made the yard look better and she was not taking them down until winter. A car slowed on the street. Silver sedan. I recognized it before I saw the driver. Naomi's car. She was alone. She slowed to 5 miles an hour as she passed Talia's fence. Through the slats she could see the backyard, the folding table still out, the streamer hooks on the porch beams, the butterfly cutouts on the fence posts. She could see the spot where Lila had blown out her candles on Mrs. Brennan's cake. She could see the lawn where 22 children had run in the October sun. She did not stop. She did not roll down the window. She did not honk or wave or text. She looked through the fence at the evidence of a party that had happened without her. A party that was better than the one she destroyed because it was built by people who showed up out of love instead of a deposit, and then she drove on. The way a person drives past a house they used to be welcome in. Her taillights disappeared around the corner on Fairview. I set the last chair in the truck bed and I did not feel sorry for her. I felt sorry for Colby, who was probably at home wondering why his mother's phone never rang anymore and why the BMX bike she had promised him had never arrived. Her world had $23,000 in civil judgment, an insurance denial letter, a Pilates studio she could not enter, a carpool she was no longer part of, and a son who kept asking about a party he would never be invited to. The purple hair clip was not in her world. She had never noticed it in the first place, and she never would. Lila's world was a backyard full of friends who came back, a butterfly clip pinned to the corkboard above her desk next to the one watercolor invitation that survived the flower because she had kept it in her jacket pocket. And a mother who crawls through crawl spaces for a living and knows exactly what things cost and what people are worth. If someone in your family has ever destroyed something your child built with love and then called it a joke, I hope this story reminded you that a licensed estimate, a security camera, and a contract clause are worth more than anything you could say in a parking lot. Thank you for watching Family Secret Tales.